right. I got a MidsWatch for you. Well, I got a few MidsWatches. It's going to be, oh, that's bright. I got to switch that to the dark one. Anyways, I left off last time talking about going Rambo and Alpha as Wolf. This one, there she is. Yeah, burning it down. How much money is enough? PUA archetypes. Parsing your anger and working through emotions while unplugging. And then a little bit about the Alpha BHUDDA. So that'll be good. So, I mean, it's the same as always. I record these things live. We chit-chat in between. What's up, Intel? Intel, wow, it's good to see you, man. So that's how this one goes. I guess I'll just switch into it. Oh, no, we don't do Alpha. So we got, there it is, how much money, the pickup industry, guy with his anger, rational males with his alpha. Yes, we actually talk about rational male articles in the Married Red Pill. It's pretty slick. And where is the next one? Oh yeah, dread levels 6 to 8, not suggested for men in state. Oh man, there's so much backstory I got to put in there. It's going to be kind of ridiculous. So anyways, I'm going to get started. Hey, bro, don't bark while I'm trying to record, okay? Hey. I told you. I'm not going to tell you again. Hey, what's up, Alan? All right, let's do this one. Here's a question for you guys. How much money is your dignity worth? How much money would it take to take that chick back? Welcome, it's MidsWatch, it's Ryan. I'm going to tell you a great story now about a lot of guys who get so attached to that little bit of success they make in life, they throw away their dignity. It's this interesting situation that comes up with dread. And you're going to love this story. It's got everything. It's got a man with cancer. It's got a girl leaving him. It's MGTOW rage bait. Amazing stuff. And we're going to go through it. So as always, if you haven't seen a MidsWatch before, it's pretty straightforward. These are old field reports from about 7 years ago in the Married Red Pill, the old subreddit from back in the day. We go over the guy's issue. We talk about Jack Ten of Hearts and his little breakdowns of it. And then I add my 2 cents in the afterwards. Gives you a little bit of insight as to why the things in the Red Pill work the way they do. So this one, guy's asking for some Married Red Pill advice. He's 49, has 4 preteens, lives in Nevada. He's a C-suite. He's got an attractive wife. She's 41 according to him. And 6 years ago, diagnosed with cancer and a 3-year life expectancy. He was retired with good income and assets. He moved to a wealthier neighborhood and the wife started hanging out with a bad crowd, starts partying and going out all the time. He beat the odds, successful surgeries, changed his diet and his lifestyle, and he slowly got better. He found out she was having an affair, and he filed for divorce after 19 years of marriage. The divorce became high conflict, 150 grand spent, no resolution in sight, and now we're living in separate homes, time sharing the kids. So while divorcing, he found the red pill and, followed the stuff we talked about. He started lifting, and while he's not jacked, he looks good for his age. 6 months of her openly in another relationship, he decided, F it, I'm going to start spinning my own plates. He starts getting some, as he puts it, 5s and 7s, 1 per month, ages 23 to 41. He knew he was going to get just graped in court. He knew this. Hey! I'm going to kill this dog, man. Chomsky, come here. If you bark again at the door while I'm recording, I'm going to wring your little scrawny neck. Just kidding. Just kidding. Anyways, go sit down. Where did I leave off on this one? Ruining my recordings. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, here we go. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So he knew he was going to get graped in court, but he's like, that's the price of freedom. The effect of the divorce on the kids has been, mostly because of the attorney shenanigans. He tries to be the stabilizing force in their lives, and they know that their dad is really the one taking care of them, and he keeps all the plates that he has away from his kids. Plates in this case is girls that he's dating non-monogamously. So the wife approaches him after the holidays and asks to talk about the kids. So we talk about the effects of divorce on the kids, the mutual regret, and then the talk turns into, her boyfriend left for New York, and she wants to see if they could rekindle the relationship. Now she's asking if we can go on a date. So bluntly, if we didn't have kids and they weren't failing in life, she'd have been, out the door. So, having taken the red pill, he knows he'll be okay, but he worries about his kids and he needs to take advantage and he wants to take advantage of a two-parent household to maintain their little lifestyle of the upper middle class, lower middle class lifestyle he wants them to achieve. So the red pill teaches that serious illness in the men is usually followed by cheating, divorce, hypergamy, blah, blah, blah. He was lucky in that he beat it. So does that mean that his temporary beta status has reverted to alpha? Or in this case, is he now attractive when he wasn't before? And yes, I made mistakes while I was sick. Bluntly, am I nuts? Can I show her how alpha I am and keep the marriage going long enough to at least get the kids to college? As far as her not being worthy, well, all women are like that, and I really expect anything different from any other women. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. He's like, I need honest advice. So you know what? Let's do Jack first. Let's do Jack and then we'll get to me. And Jack's like, are you stupid? Are you stupid? If your kids are destined to be high-achieving, successful people, then any inherited wealth will be a low coefficient multiplier at best. If they get a college undergrad in a practical field, minimal student debt, they're already ahead of 99% of their peers. They can figure the rest out. You seem pretty convinced more about your financial nest egg than holding any sense of standards or ethics for yourself. Your wife didn't just branch swing. She did it in the shittiest way possible. She is not a good person, man. A good person will tell you she can't do this anymore. Your illness is a burden she can't bear. She wants to separate. It's messed up, but that's not shitty. Do you see the difference? So your attitude makes zero sense to me. To each their own. She doesn't seem financially rational, and that's also what protects us. I had a whole story about my ex-business partner and how he offered me a buyout deal that was reasonably fair on paper but effed up on principle. Short version was, I may have burned up more in legal fees, but I went to bed every night knowing I was fighting for the company I built with my own two hands, and he could go piss off. So we actually reached a deal that was better for myself a year later, and he said, clearly, this is something you feel strongly about, so just tell me what you want. I had a very angry, resentful frame, but it was mine, and I owned that shit this whole time and was not going to pretend otherwise. So what you need to realize is eventually you're going to be earthworm, just like the rest of us, earthworm food. And your kids may benefit from any material possessions you passed on to them, but they're going to be earthworm food too. Paying off student loans and affording down payments on nice condos and housing and extravagant princess wedding for your daughter, that's nice, but they're just things. It's just stuff. Now, I was willing to burn down my whole company because it was just stuff too. I'd start another one, or maybe I wouldn't, and either way it wouldn't matter. But I knew what I couldn't do was buy out my lazy piece of shit ex-partner for how equivalent of 100% of the net income would be for me for next 2 years. We're all destined to decay in the ground. Compromise on what you feel strongly about may save you a couple bucks, but it's not worth it. And the guy's kind of, chirping back. That's how I started out, white hot like the sun. But now he's like, it might not be that bad. Attorney's not too happy to assist with this. Talks about his legal fees, money, etc., etc. Essentially, he's deering, defend, excuse, explain, rationalize. And then Jack just chirped right back. Dude, give me a number. Seriously, give me a fucking number and how much you need to save to reconcile with your piece of shit whore of a wife who fucking partied and cheated on you while you were infirm because, I don't know, I guess you had the audacity to get cancer. Give me a fucking number. How many dollars does a man like yourself need to save to justify forgiving all of that and reconciling? I want to know. I seriously want to know how much money you'll sell your entire sense of self-worth under the delusion that this is somehow better for your kids. Tell me. I'm not being snarky. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not trying to belittle you. But realize that considering this is the closest thing a man will ever do that counts for selling his soul. So I'm genuinely curious. I cannot ask anybody else I know because they have never entertained a situation like this. They've been fortunate enough to never get into one, or to have a net worth low enough that the answer was irrelevant, or they would just refuse to sell their soul. But this does apply to you since you're considering it. So I want to know what kind of math is involved. Tell me the number. I want to know. He continues on. I wish he would just admit he's done some kind of smart financial management, felt like he had a position to retire, as he did in his 40s. His assets would generate income and appreciation passively. Some of those assets would be inherited by his children. He imagined his stuff as a little kingdom the children could nurture and grow. The divorce will require liquidating and splitting some of the assets, and that just sucks. Visions of his kingdom are dashed. His passive income will take a hit, and despite his health battles, he still may live for a several couple more decades. Is it worth dusting off the Rolodex, headhunting, getting back into those corporate exec jobs to get it back? And I think that's his struggle, and that's the reason he keeps mentioning money and children. You know, it seems like the idea is reconciling with his wife will allow him to avoid splitting up his kingdom. But, you know, fuck it. Go make another one. You did it before. You did it again. You can do it again. And lastly, I can't imagine any reconciliation going well anyway. Clearly the divorce is contentious. His wife feels aggrieved somehow. Probably because, you know, he had the audacity to get cancer. Or maybe that she helped enable his CEO lifestyle and whatever, and it's time for her to collect on that. You know, she'll fight any prenup or postnup and won't hesitate to fire the divorce bullet whenever she feels entitled to be aggrieved, which is probably going to be constantly. So this is nothing but pain. So, you know, I did some thinking on why I feel so visceral about this. It's not just his wife, it's him. The way I was condescended to by all my previous employers. They called me a loose cannon or too emotional because I didn't make a 100% financially rational decision. I dropped clients when they treated me or my team like shit. When their boss is like, treating you like shit is literally in the job description. Because even the CEO has to answer to some asshole, whether it's a board chairman or a public market or an unhappy customer or whatever. There's always those guys that are telling me, you know, we feel you don't operate in terms of a risk-reward framework because I make too many decisions on principle. And no matter how many times I try to tell them factoring emotion into the decision doesn't make it an emotional decision, they don't get it. They never got it. So I left, and now I get to be CEO. The shit is the same and the bullshit is not. And this is why he's getting all weird out about it. Because he's seeing his exact situation from the other side. This is that CEO that kept telling him to be a prick, right? Anyways, so if you ask a CEO how much he'd need to be paid to eat an actual spoon of shit, he'll give you a number. It'll be a high number, but he'll give you a number. He'll ask questions, like if it's pre-tax, whether it's human, whether it's delivered in installments or a lump sum. He won't say, what the hell, you can't pay me enough to eat shit. And it's this kind of thinking that leads a CEO to make big bucks. It's also leading somebody to consider why reconciling with their whore of a wife who cheated on them while they had cancer is a good idea. So yeah, he kind of went off. I left a lot of that out. So my take on this is one of those interesting things. It's something that's fairly common, is that a lot of guys, because they are afraid, they're afraid of separation, they're afraid of divorce, they're afraid of losing money, it's loss aversion. But because we can't mentally accept loss aversion, because that's like, oh, men aren't supposed to be afraid and you can do whatever, they use their kids as shields. You see it all the time, man. You see these guys that they have a cheating whore wife, a frigid wife, horrible women, horrible. None of this, well, maybe, no, flat out horrible. I got a good friend that's like that. I get it. And then what happens? They're staying together because the kids. As if staying with a horrible person is somehow good and helpful for your kids. Why? They'll make up some other rationalization. Oh, because my house is $20,000 more expensive than when I paid for it in 1997. And it's always this idea that as long as two people are together, because there's a statistic out there somewhere that said it, yeah, that everything will be fine. And it's not. What it is you get kids being raised not knowing any better, and all they see is, okay, be a cuck. Let your wife run roughshod over you, and that's how you be a good man. And they may know it's not good, because they see nothing but fights and a miserable childhood, but when they grow up, they don't default to what they think is right. They default to their training. And what did you do? You train them to be that guy that takes back his cheating whore wife. So when I talk about frame, and the big part about this is, what is it in your life that is a hard boundary? What is your principle? What is it that you will not accept? Not what do you want the other person to do? He can't tell his wife, I don't want you to sleep around and do drugs and try and divorce me and take all my money while I have cancer. Because you can't stop her from doing that. She clearly felt it was like within her right. The audacity, huh? But what you can do is like, I'm not putting up with that shit. And you know what? I keep telling you guys, being a 100% dad 50% of the time is way better than being a 50% dad 100% of the time. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry, it will. And if it doesn't, then I'll still be here when those kids turn 18 and they have a fucked up marriage and they need to talk to somebody about it. So enjoy yourselves. Catch you on the next one. Episode 1 finished. I forgot all about that guy, man. Yeah, he eventually left. He's the typical married red pill guy. Oh no, he didn't. He actually stuck around. I wonder, when did he stop? Okay, so he stuck it out for about a year. Good for him. Good for him. Let me fix the... Give me a second here. I will fix the... Where the hell's my goddamn thing? What's the date today? 13th. 8/13. It's weird. I'm not getting any thumbnails. I think it's this one. If you hear some background noise, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's the one. And we are on... $41. That's weird. I don't see the Alpha Wolf one. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Oh, I got Nick in the chat. It's good to see you. Yeah, net gain beats specific loss. I agree. First time. There's always somebody who says like a first time catching these things live. There's that. And then there's when I put out a recording, everybody's like, I've already watched this one. Are you redoing content? I'm like, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, Joe. That's the problem with these things. They'll sometimes do their year and they'll be in and they'll be out. A lot of guys don't give you the aftermath. So you really just have to, you judge it by the snapshot that you're given. And in this case, you just got to think of like, when you're put into this situation, how would you react? Do you have principles? Do you know what you want? Do you guys know when I keep chirping on you? Know what you want? Do you know what you want? What's your magic wand? He doesn't know. And that's when you make stupid, weird decisions like this. You're basically allowing yourself to get manipulated because you don't have frame. It's another example of how those little things just kick into you. Oh, he did leave an update though. So he's like, no, kids are going to have to learn this is part of growing up, and I'm not going to tell them that their mom was a cheating whore at least until they're 18 or she tries to get sole custody. Bottom line, they need a functional adult in the family looking out for their interest. It's not her. So we did bully him into doing what's his own best interest. So got to give us credit there. Turns out guys can help each other if we have to. This one's going to be weird though. Oh man, do I even... Yeah, it's where Jack starts going off about pickup stuff, and this, to be fair, I don't know how true this is or not. So this is going to be one of those ones where there's going to have to be one of those ones where like take it with a grain of salt. I have zero experience on this one, so I'll just give my chiming thoughts on it, anyways. I guess we'll do it. This is what they don't want you to know about the pickup artist industry. MidsWatch, Ryan, welcome. I'm not going to give you the spiel. If this is your first time watching, just stick around. You'll enjoy the ride. The Married Red Pill, this one, 7 years ago again. They're all 7. We're almost down to 6 years ago stuff. It's pretty neat. It was about an article from ABC, if you can believe that, Real Social Dynamics and the Evolution of the Pickup Industry. It's almost narcissism training. I guess... if I remember, I'm going to put an article into the description. You're welcome to check it out. And it's just by this guy, James Purtill. Of course, he uses Night at the Roxbury photos. And he was just doing an expose about how how the pickup artist is treating guys to be narcissists. And that's bad. Which kind of chimes in with what everybody knows. Like narcissism is really the male personality type and borderline personality is the female. But everybody equates narcissism with the extreme narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder, as opposed to thinking on it as a spectrum. It's like anything. Toxicity always, the dosage always matters for toxicity, and that's anything. So there was this nice big thing, you know, man bad, narcissism bad, pick up evil, training men to be Elliot Rodger. Your standard hit piece stuff. And then Jack Tennehart's kind of read through it, and he, like me, kind of did it as a hobby while we were getting our own lives underway. And he goes, you have to realize the profile of your typical pickup artist follower is a codependent young man with one narcissist parent and one codependent parent. The combination almost guaranteed the young man will be severely codependent himself and essentially put all of his self-worth into making other people feel good. And while being an empathic and selfless person are generally considered virtuous, they are orthogonal to attraction. A well-adjusted woman will go on a few dates with a charismatic and selfish guy, then realize he's selfish and stop seeing him. She won't go on any dates with a selfless but otherwise milquetoast guy. This is how our codependent young man becomes a nice guy. He's lonely. He doesn't want to be lonely. He's upset that his best qualities do nothing about him being lonely. So this could be, 10-minute speech in and of itself, but we've sort of changed the rules on young men, but kept the expectations the same. I don't know why it's so hard to get constructive yet actionable dating advice for men. I do know that it's pretty easy for these nice guys to get frustrated because, for example, we still expect men to initiate courtship and we virgin shame men about as much as we slut shame women. I realize this is swerving dangerously close into the men's rights advocacy territory, so let me stipulate, I don't think it's anybody's fault or some kind of intentional outcome of feminist movements or whatever. But I do think if women were taught to take more initiative in their dating lives and maybe stopped using the word virgin as an insult, you'd have fewer guys that were susceptible to this. By this, I mean how our nice guy is now ripe for PUA, because they have actionable answers to his questions. We've already established the codependent nature makes him desperate to please others, yet this is not a sexually attractive quality. He is literally outsourcing his happiness to others, and that's why he's unhappy. So the pickup artists come along, otherwise known as how to outsource your happiness to others and convince them how to make you happy. Most guys, despite their codependency, are well adjusted enough not to take the pickup stuff entirely seriously. In a healthy form, it's mostly just like coaching for job interviews. Act professional, not desperate, highlight your strengths, don't act secure about weakness, look them in the eye. I know most of you blue-pill individuals think this is stupidly self-evident, or think there are countless resources to give you this advice without the taint of the pickup artists. But seriously, how can I not be a virgin anymore is a question a lot of young men ask, and some hand-waving about you building your social circles, identity capital, fit of body and mind, that's great and all, but seriously, the guy wants to be a non-virgin really badly. So then, red pill. You come take these codependent nice guys, desperate for female validation, you teach them some sneaky car salesman routines, while cosmetically useful, don't really solve the problem, and some sunset, you guys realize, what the fuck are we going through all this trouble for women? Why are we putting so much of our self-worth based on this? Good questions, but seriously, this is your nice guy. This is your nice guy, pickup artist, red-pilled evolution. You guys want to know how we end up this way? Well, this is how. Now, I'm not trying to condemn society for selling short. There's countless opportunities for you to open your eyes and realize your feelings are being stoked by another person, convincing you to pay them money in return for non-virginhood, and it's not a new thing. Men have been paying money to be non-virgins for a long time. Like, seriously, the next commercial you watch was something marketed towards men, and tell me when the subtext isn't, buy this thing, and attractive women will want to have sex with you. We think only Axe body spray and Old Spice commercials are funny because they're being overt with it. If you don't get it, good for you. You had well-adjusted parents, well-adjusted friends, positive male role models who taught you the thing, like women work for attraction and professional competence and emotional empathy, and none of this was true and you pieced it together yourself. How do I become a non-virgin in a constructive and healthy way? I would encourage you to work through your community for whatever definition of community you want to use to teach men to become the same. You want to neuter the terpers, that's the easiest way. I guess I should preface too, this was him talking to the Blue Pill subreddit who just put it up and they loved shitting all over us. And this was his way of kind of like bridging the gap, which is why a lot of that sounded like he was shitting all over pickup artists in the red pill. It's standard Trumpian tactics, right? Talk to them in their language, bring them over to your side. Of course, I mean, it didn't really go anywhere. Everything was just kind of more hand waving and nothing ever gets answered. And this is the funny part. Like, what? You can feel whatever way you want to about the red pill, about pickup artist and whatever. And the real funny thing is it's the only place where people are even trying to solve the problem. As far as pickup, like I did it myself. It was a hobby, definitely not a career. In my early 20s when I was in the military, if I haven't told the story before, I was sailing like 180 days a year. And it was impossible to go on a date and then, hey, can you wait for 3 months and then we'll have a second date because I'm sailing? It's like, no, never happens. So I had to gamify it and I'm like, perfect. It's like training wheels and I could speed up the process because otherwise I just wasn't getting anything, nothing at all. And like most guys, it's like, well, just walk up and talk to them. It's like, I don't know what to say. You can sit there and be entertaining, but then at some point you're like, all right, now what? And what it did is it offered like training wheels. So, okay, so you talk about this stuff and then you switch over to this. You can start with openers. This is how you like engage a group that you've never met before, build some interest, find out who's a good person to talk to and who's a bad person to talk to. How you escalate from friendly talk and make it sexual so you know that they know you want to sleep with them and not just you want to be a friend. How do you set up your logistics in such a way that, these things can just happen? It turns out spontaneity takes a lot of planning. And I remember I was even talking about this today. There was one point where I was with a girl. I can't remember who it was, which, whatever. And she just looked over and she's like, you realize you don't have to try so hard, right? basically saying I was a sure thing. And at that point, it was like, oh, that's great. I skipped like 8 out of the 10 or 8 out of the 9 steps that you had to do there. And that's when I realized, okay, and this is probably what he's referring to as that healthy, non-codependent way of looking through it. So when he talks about these codependent guys, I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. From what I've seen, the codependent guys tend to be the ones that get angry and quit and turn into Elliot Rodger. So, but for me, it was just tools. Like, I think everybody tries to make this red pill thing out to be this giant cultural zeitgeist and this big shift and this giant community. Like, there's no community. Guys aren't women. We're not communal that way. There's no coherent ideology. There's no, some are liberals, some are conservatives, some are Neanderthals. It doesn't really matter. None of this matters. It's the same as the pickup thing. It's just there's a bunch of knowledge in there of which it's either useful or not useful. And the only way to tell the difference is to try things out, replicate the things that work, don't replicate the things that don't work. And if you're so inclined, which a lot of people don't, but some do, just leave your own notes to either reinforce the good parts or not the bad parts. And then eventually you do that for about a decade, you're going to get something put together that seems to work fairly well. And that's really all it has to be. And the worst thing you can do, and I'll say this right now, the worst thing you can do is take this stuff seriously. Because as soon as you start doing that, that's when you start getting into these conversations about the cultural zeitgeist and the articles like, what do they call it? Real social dynamics and the evolution of the pickup industry. It's narcissism training. It's like, fuck off. You just want to get laid. Guys just want to get laid. And you know what? All the other stuff, all the stuff that you use to apologize for, oh, it's not just about getting laid. It's about blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're right. But that's kind of like a forethought. You work out because you want to get laid. And then you find out, hey, I'm healthy and I don't have cancer and my back doesn't hurt. That's awesome. But that's not why you did it. Same as this. And just own it. Or better yet, just don't tell anybody you do any of this stuff. That would be awesome. King Rob 555 $10 super chat. I have a pilled question to ask, but I'll wait till next video. You're cooking right now. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. 913. Which one is it? I think it's this one. There. God, the stupid Windows man doesn't give me my I think it's 40. Here goes nothing. It doesn't give me my thumbnails anymore, so I can't tell which ones. Yeah, I mean, I wish, guys, you'd take it from that. It's like really 59 watching with 9 likes. Hit that thumb. Pickup artists should be considered heroes in the right context. No, Dirty Joe. No, they shouldn't. Why not release a pickup book, the Rian Method? Joe, are you... Dude, is this for real? There's no way that's a real comment. Are these real comments? First off, if I were to make a book, it would just be a ripoff of like Roosh and Mystery. They're there. Heck, my Patreon alone, I put the Armageddon Method, the old mystery thing that I did myself. Yeah, everybody tries to make everything into, like, everybody wants their January 6th moment. It's fucking retarded. It's like, look, sometimes it's just a thing and you pick it up and you have fun with it. And then once you've gotten what you need from it, you don't need it anymore. That's it. It doesn't have to be a community. It doesn't have to be a cultural ideology. It doesn't have to be a villain. It doesn't have to be anything. People just really have this need to make everything so self-important. It's like, get over yourself. You got a shitty mom, pushover dad, and you have no idea how to talk to women. Here's all these guys showing you how to talk to women. They make it up into a structure. You can use it to practice until you get comfortable enough that you know when you need to skip steps and when you don't. That's all it is. For the red pill thing, they just take that and roll with it. Well, let's start applying this a little further out than just getting my dick wet. How about a relationship? How about how to get media savvy so we're not getting bullied by Ukrainian footage? How about how to deal with my boss? How about not to be a nice guy? The psychological stuff. Literally, pickup is the fake it until you make it, which is the red pill. That's in my opinion anyway. But yeah. Where are we leading off here? No, genuinely asking. No. Yeah, most pickup books are just all derivatives of the mystery method anyway. The London day game model essentially just took the mystery method and applied it in a daytime setting. Roosh's Day Bang just took the mystery method and the London day game model and made it into like a highlights for children, easy step-by-step thing. Everybody is essentially just ripping off the original. It's kind of like, and I don't mean to equate like the importance of it, but it's like the equivalent of there was one gospel, there was an Old Testament, and then 500 denominations of Christianity later, you're all still reading the same fucking book, you know? Yeah, if humans have not changed that much. That's the funny thing too. So I put the Armageddon method, which is my original DVD thing. Yes, Troy will even admit as much, dude. So I'm gonna ask. I have to see something here. I have a curiosity, and I have a feeling I'm right. Yeah. All right, Billy. Enough with fucking around. Stop wasting everybody's time with your bullshit. Fucking hate that kid. The shitty thing is, he just stays at home all day, so there's no chance he can get hit by a bus either. Could you talk about that? Well, right now I'm doing a specific thing. These are the MidsWatches. This is a collection of Jack Ten of Hearts essays over the years. And it's a lot of research into dread in that. So it has a start point and an end point. We're on episode, we're working backwards, and I think I'm on 39 right now. So we're almost at the end. Some of them get skipped. Anyways, I'm going to skip to the next one here. This one's about dealing with anger, so you'll like that. Hey, you don't have to become a fitness influencer just because you know how to train. Exactly. Anywho, let's get started. So you're angry and you don't know what to do about it. Don't worry. Papa Ryan's got you. Welcome, it's Ryan, MidsWatch. You know the deal. This one is a good one. I don't do these often because the initial anger phase on guys is kind of like you've been there, you've done it, you say you process. But I guess for a lot of you guys, you may be new to the channel and you don't know about constructive ways to handle your anger. Because, you know, women won't tell you. They'll just yell at you and tell you to stop being angry. Nobody will yell at you. Nobody will help you about it. They won't tell you what to do. They just don't want you angry. And so they shame you for it. So luckily there's a bunch of assholes here in this locker room and they'll help you get to it better. Anyways, this guy, feel like I need to tell you who I am and why I'm here. Post happy hour. No doubt I'll cringe tomorrow and probably delete this. From the most popular user in the Married Red Pill. Account deleted. Just come home from a happy hour get together with 6 couples and me. I have created and deleted 6 Reddit accounts with labels representing some religious implications. Why? Don't know. I don't have any faith anymore. In fact, I'm the angriest man you'll ever meet, although I keep hoping the anger is temporary. I have to admit that this anger is running through the red pill that keeps bringing me back. Embarrasses me to admit, but I guess Fraud is what really draws me in. I read it, and I feel I am not so pathetic after all. Plus, I miss my favorite posters. And he's brand, holy jeez. I don't know if you recognize any of these names, but he's talking about Maddie Anon, Training the Brain, and that one guy Invoker or something who makes indiscriminate use of the word a British pile of sticks. So belligerent, very amusing. I should say, however, I'm a widower 8 months. I hate the term, but there it is. Trying to emerge from a soul-crushing grief, and I haven't been incapacitated, but I've been close. Compared to the marriages I see described here, mine was sublime. We met in college, took turns supporting each other through law school, had 4 kids, all 4 were a joy, like every day was a holiday, every meal was a banquet. For real, my youngest daughter would say, and she is so like my late last wife that I can't even look at her right now and speak sometimes. Why am I even on Reddit? My youngest daughter told me it would help me understand the zeitgeist of young women and I need to develop some game. She says her current boyfriend has no game. I am actually too sincere. Been on a few dates. My 4 children try to push me out there. Never had any trouble meeting women, even when I was married, which remains true. But I have to say, I don't understand these 30-year-olds at all. Both of my dates were younger than me, one 28, one 31. He's in his mid-50s, by the way. They just give it all away. I guess that's adult dating. So I guess I don't meet the I'm marriage or long-term relationship guideline, but thanks for listening to me while I get my shit together. I don't wish this on any of you. So this isn't going to mean anything to you, but this is my favorite guy in the Married Red Pill. I've talked about my favorite field reports. This was Frenchie. He's probably been, and he's completely unique in that everybody, you know how she's not yours and it's just your turn? He's the only guy I knew of who had the perfect marriage, the perfect wife. They did everything that's an example of not what the Red Pill guys tell you on Twitter. And then his wife died. And now he has to get over it. Jack and I actually start a pretty big beef over this guy's thing here pretty soon. So it's going to be interesting. You guys are going to love how this is, if you've been watching the MidsWatches that come out around the summer, you'll probably already know where this piece is going, but it's nice. So I'll do Jack's thing and then I'll tell you some stories afterwards. I think you'll really like it because this is truly like a gem. From parsing your post, you have a romanticized view of your marriage. I'm sure you were happy, but the sudden death of a loved one who died before they're old is a whole new level of grief. You probably compare everybody you've met to your late wife, and that's going to be hard enough to deal with. It'll be impossible for them to match up to it. And he goes, I get it. So we have these like very constructive ways of dealing with this anger. Here's like a couple lists. 1, find some safe space to cry this shit out. The most vulnerable expressions of despair, anxiety, or sadness have not been with my wife. They've been with my friends. And I'm sure all of your friends have told you at some point, please let me know if there's anything I can do. Well, take them up on that offer. Call your buddies, hey man, I'm feeling shitty. And if we just hung out, I'd feel less shitty. Are you free? That's it. I'm sure you felt like you're not very good company. Maybe you've been withdrawn. And that's, but that's why your friends offered. Plus the idea that hanging out with somebody is helping you, even if just brooding and sipping a beer while you're crying and a thing is more than enough for them. The traits you probably enjoyed with your wife are her high self-esteem and low neuroticism. I would recommend avoiding the age 27 to 34 demographic because they will literally be the exact opposite. They will give it up early and then become obsessed with the idea of getting married if you keep dating them for more than a few weeks. If you're looking for meaningful but gradual romantic relationships, those women aren't your best bet. Aim younger or aim older. So if I remember several years ago telling my sister to stop sleeping with guys on the first date, but also stop making them plan the second. Take sex off the table, get a couple dates, but don't make these guys play some fucking obstacle course of drinks and dinners and content on some misguided idea that you're worth it even if you don't put out. If you had a good first date, make it clear you're interested in a second, and if he suggests dinner, suggest you just come to his place and cook for him instead. Seriously. Cook a guy a decent meal on the second date, he'll be okay waiting for sex until the third. Now I would imagine you would like something like this. Meaningful but gradual romantic companionship. Clearly a woman that is interested sexually, but some of them will also present attraction in other ways. This is what I mean by high self-esteem, low neuroticism. If she's interesting enough, putting in her own work in the early dating period and is otherwise physically affectionate, then you're less likely to have these moments where you wake up and think, I just had sex with a woman I don't think I liked that much. And there's no morality in the statement here. When I got divorced, I very much wanted to have sex with a lot of women, and liking them was a tertiary criteria at best. But if you don't care to spin plates, don't. Your daughter just doesn't like seeing her dad feeling lonely and thinks some companionship will help, and the most direct way to get good at dating, if that is enjoyable for you, then do it, and if not, don't. So I hope you keep your post here, because it's not just you owning your shit, but it really is a perspective. That's Jack. There's me. I get it. It really is his problem. Every girl he was ever dating, he was comparing them to his deceased wife. None of them matched up. Jack's telling him, like, go for what you want. And my advice to him at the time, because this is the one thing I'm good at, is this specific type situation. I'm like, you need to embrace the hate fuck. He goes, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, right now, because you loved your wife, you have that association with loving somebody and liking somebody and putting that together into a sexual package. None of these girls are going to match up to her. In fact, they're pretty shitty compared to her, right? He goes, yeah. It's like, do it and not like them. It's okay. A little sport fucking. It won't be bad. Jack hated that advice, but he tried it. He's like, it actually makes it easier. Once I realize I don't have to try and replace what's missing in my life and I just enjoy them for what they are, neurotic, horrible messes. They were probably pretty good in bed. And I don't have to like him, and that's okay. And he kind of enjoyed it, and it's good. He got the stuff out of his system. He's moved on, by the way, to have like great field reports for us. If you've been on the channel for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about the guy whose wife had a crush on the football coach. That's this guy. That's Frenchie. He drove a Beamer, but you kind of hold it against him. Yeah, we've talked. He was pretty well put together man anyway. There was that girl I've mentioned on her, Claire, the one who read through all the red pill stuff and kind of used it to process her getting cheated on by her finance bro boyfriend, got married within the year. He was helping her out on this one too. It's like how to do this and how to do that and how to get past this stuff. He talked a lot about money. He and Fire Tempered were the two older guys, and so they kind of put together that Treasury article. So that was pretty good. And eventually what had happened is he started vacationing in the Appalachians, and he had found some artisanal bread maker. She was like 45 or something like that. He would have probably been 62 at the time. And then he just settled down and he had his plate. He would go there, a couple times a year and fool around with them and make bread. And he's like, I never would have thought my rich city type ass would be dating this hippie granola artisanal bread maker, but he was happy. And it was good. And then he eventually left. But he was probably one of the best examples. And he's the one thing he taught me that I will pass on to you guys is he was like really good at mentorship. And I remember this one thing he used to do where he could take the angriest guy and make them do better. And his reasoning for that was, I'm just going to assume the guy I'm talking to wants to be better. And people don't like to argue. Like if you're telling somebody how great they are, nobody's going to argue with you. And so he goes, yeah, I just treat them like they're great, talk to them as if they're going to be great. And more often than not, they would rather not argue the point and just agree with me. It was amazing. It was a really good, and I thought I was good at mentorship, but he's still like, you're still learning things. It was just pretty neat. So he eventually moved on. He actually spoke French too, which was neat. He learned it in high school, and I had my shitty Quebecois. So anyways, he was a really good guy. I don't know where he's at now. He's got to be pulling 70 years old, enjoying his twilight years somewhere, eating some artisanal bread, full red pill, everything you could ever want to know. So yeah, don't worry about this. Don't worry about the lonely old man. If you don't get a girl, you're just gonna be alone and lonely. The guy was widowed in his 50s, and he somehow pulled himself together. It's not hard. You never have to worry about being alone. You never have to be like guys in previous watches who have to trade their dignity for the ability to keep their kids in the house or any of this shit. It's like, you will be fine. He was fine, and he went through a lot more than you did. Yeah. I don't have endings for these ones. Fuck, I forgot. There's 2 Frenchies, by the way. You were asking how many Frenchies do I know? There was 2. There was one, which was the guy from Fleet School, and then this Frenchie. His account was Il est resuite. I don't even know what that word means. The resuite. But yeah, he was good. Anyways, Jack hated my advice. He got fucking mad. Oh, that's a later episode. That's going to be one of the last episodes. That'll be for the punchline for this whole series. Yeah, BK, that's how these work. I record all these ones separately, and then once I'm done, I'll use those to make... one sec. I'll use these to make MidsWatch episodes. Somebody just had the idea. It's like, if you're just going to be recording these anyway, why not just do it as a live stream and chit chat with you guys? And then what I do is like, I'll leave it up for a week, let people check it out if they want, and then I leave it up on Patreon. So Patreons can go back. If you guys don't like the jazzy music and the much music live stream vibe to it, then you can just go there and just get the straight up ones. It's just like, I always like offering value to the guys in the Patreon. So I'm like, there's just one more thing I can get to them. So that'll be nice. Fuck, it's too bad. I wonder if I could, you know what? Let me see something. So he's had all of his stuff deleted and you can't find it anymore. But I'm wondering through the archives if I can do like some kind of reverse. Is your Patreon like a C-SPAN for Red Pill? Pretty much. It's more specific. Like these MidsWatches are from other people talking about things from years ago. It's this, but in situ. If that helps. Give me the thing, sir. God, the archive is slow as shit. But it's good. It's mostly married guys. I was saying that today too on the gaming stream, which is, yeah, there he is. Oh, he's only got the one? That's weird. Il est resuite. I don't know what that means. Which is weird. You think I would. He must be tech savvy then if he got his stuff scrubbed. That's funny. Anyway. It looks like it is not a thing. It's not there. And unless this search comes up with anything, yeah, it's been scrubbed. That's too bad. There was so much knowledge, and I got a lot of it up here, but I know there's a bunch of shit I've forgotten over the years. Huh. The battle of who could care less. Well, I'll have to go through that later. Anyways, for you guys, the next one's going to be actually talking about a Rollo article. No, there's a couple red-pilled archives that exist out there already. But sometimes, like, people can go in there and get their stuff scrubbed as well. Yeah, it's all there. But in the end, I mean, it doesn't really matter. This stuff all goes in cycles. There's at some point, there's going to be another widowed older guy who's smart and takes all this red pill stuff and makes it work. Everything always happens over and over and over again. And there's going to be another Ryan in 5 years, and you guys won't remember who I am. And he'll have like this fond memory of this idiot wearing the fucking 80s stuff going back, you know? But yeah, it's the Patreon is where I take this stuff pretty seriously. I don't do any of the goofy shit like on Twitter and that. Let me get back to the MidsWatches. We're going to try and get another 2 episodes out of this. I try to get as many as I can before my voice starts to get tinny, because you can only do this for so long, and I already did 2 hours this morning. You know what's funny? I have done like 80, 90 of these MidsWatches. Not once have any of us ever discussed a Rollo Tomasi article. Except for today. MidsWatch, Ryan, we're going over Alpha. If you haven't heard of that, it is the old Corey Worthington article. It's one of the more famous Rollo articles. There's Saving the Best. There's the Safety Net. There's Alpha. It's mostly the first year stuff. It's probably the most important stuff. Anyways, it's a simple article. If I remember, I'll put the link to it in the description. If not, you just look up the article, October 20th, 2011. It's called Alpha. And it's a YouTube video of this guy, Corey Worthington, some Australian guy who's like shirtless with some goofy sunglasses on. Had a party, trashed his parents' place. He ended up making the national news. And he just didn't care. He was completely aloof and irreverent, and Rollo always refers to him as the Alpha Buddha. And he used it in the article's case to make an example for you that the things that make you a good person and the thing that make you a good lay are not the same thing. So your sexual attractiveness and your moral anything, completely tangential to each other. And that's the article. So it's pretty funny. I'm not going to go bother. Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just a lot of guys arguing that you need to be a leader of man, a servant leader. And that's like this weird Christian thing. So a lot of Rollo stuff is really about showing Christian men how far their faith has failed them. And it's not even like actual Christianity. It's just the way the faith is being practiced, especially in the States right now. So going through this one, Jack has some thoughts on it. He goes, the whole key here is moral relativism. Corey, in this case, doesn't give a shit about anybody else's ideas on what's morally right or wrong. He does what he wants, and if it's wrong, he doesn't care. He lacks the status in society to do this without consequences, but again, doesn't care. So, if ending up in a lawsuit, if not criminally convicted, does not seem alpha because it's stupid because acting so overtly against society's assumed inherent morality has consequences. Think of our society as a board game. You can ignore the rules, shove the pieces up your nose, just like Corey. This will ensure you're not one of the chumps who plays the game strictly by the rules, only to lose, but nobody is going to think you're a winner. Other players cheat and try not to get caught. The more you cheat, the better you do, and the more pissed off everybody gets if you get caught. Barry Bonds, Bernie Madoff, they knew they were violating the rules and they didn't give a fuck. This thing, unlike Corey, at least you're still playing. You can cheat and get caught, and most of the time, everybody still lets you play a few games later anyways. They don't just want to cooperate you, or they don't just won't cooperate with you or help you ever win again. This is fine if you don't need any cooperation, but most cheaters get caught before they can win without anybody's help. Others read the rules and find ways to outwardly conform while they subtly tilt things in their favor over time. They also know the public rules are different from how the game is played. So if the rules in the game are an effective weapon that they can wield when advantageous and bend when disadvantageous, they want the cooperation of other players to win, and nobody will cooperate with you if you're clearly not even cooperating with the rules. Lastly, there are those that play to the letter of the rules, hoping that enough iterations of playing will eventually lead you to the victory you're told are statistically due. But they keep losing, and everybody says, hey, you're playing great, I'm sure you'll get better next time, and they may suspect that it's bullshit, and maybe the public rules are more limiting, and maybe they should try to find those secret private rules that winners seem to use. But then they're told, dude, there's no secret rules. If you try and you do that and you're not following the rules, you're just like Corey and you're bad. You don't want to be like that. Shoving pizzas up his nose. It looks like he's having fun, but he'll never win because we won't let him play. So ante up, sucker. Buddy. So everybody is the last guy. Everybody but the last guy in that situation is an alpha. But clearly, in the game of life, their pieces end up on very different places of the board. That's Jack's thing. For me, that's kind of gobbledygook. Whatever. Look, he's right. Like, I know Venkatesh Rao talks about this. You've heard of the Gervais principle, probably. And that's within any organization. There's three groups. There's winners, there's sociopaths, there's losers, and there's the clueless. The idea of the clueless people are the ones that always play by the rules and they just want to be nice to everybody. Sociopaths are the ones that break the rules and do what they need to do, and they end up getting ahead. And the losers are economic losers in this case. They're the ones that know the rules, but they can't play the game because they're not good at it, and therefore they lose. And they talk about the different types of interactions between them. There's posturing, there's baby talk, and there's straight talk. So sociopaths talk to each other in power talk. Sociopaths talk in the clueless people, as they call it, baby talk. And they talk to the losers with straight talk, because you don't have to put any pretense with them. Now, what does any of this have to do with anything? Not much. Here's your takeaway from a red-pilled perspective, a red-pilled lens. There is rules in society, things you shall do and things you shall not do. There are consequences. There is also the likelihood of these things being enforced. It's straight up risk analysis. And that comes with everything. Sometimes just being a likable person allows you to bend the rules a little bit. Sometimes being more attractive, you get that halo effect, you get to bend the rules a little bit. Sometimes you work for a company, but you make them so much money that they bend the rules for you too. So there is two sets of rule books, and this is a very classic red pill concept. There is the rules, and then there is the actual rules that people play by. And this is whether it's making money, this is about whether it's having sex, this is about how you're going to do your marriage, everything. Just understand that. And this is everywhere. You'll see this. It's called subtext. The Christian girl who talks about, I don't do that on a first date, I'm not like that anymore. And you go onto Twitter, you'll see them talk constantly about all their virtuous piety and all that crap, and they don't believe any of it. Some of the nastiest women you'll ever meet are the most devout women. You know why? Because they have to be. That's how they signal to the clueless people, I'm one of you. And the clueless guy thinks, I can get them, that'll be great. Meanwhile, the sociopath guy, the one who just plays the game by his own rules, has some fun, plays by the underhanded rules, and as long as he's smart enough to give outward appearances of playing by the rules, he'll be fine. Of course, there's this other thing, and that is most alphas end up in jail. Most alphas end up in jail. What do I mean by that? I guess Tate would be a good example. Andrew Tate. You see him, he's tall, he's physically fit. I don't think he's attractive, but maybe he is. I don't know. Kickboxing, status, money, all those things make him super attractive. Absolutely does not act according to any kind of ethical and moral rule book that you've ever heard of. And he got away with it for a long time, and then he didn't. And that's the same thing. If you're, aggressive, aloof, uncaring, that kind of stuff, very attractive from a dark triad perspective. But problem is, you get that guy, eventually things catch up to him, goes to jail. So you have to always keep this in mind. You got to, just because something is sexually attractive doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea. You have to draw a line somewhere. And this is, again, boundaries and frame are so important. How badly do you want it? How bad do you want to get laid? You want to get laid big enough to maybe, jaywalk? Sure, why not? Maybe to speed a little bit, make her excited, put her on a motorcycle. Maybe you're not wearing the proper safety gear, you're riding squid. Oh, that's dangerous, but you're safe with that. You make your risk judgment. Are you willing to storm the Capitol on January 6th in hopes that one of the girls there, one of the protest girls, will fall in love with you? Well, maybe that's a line you shouldn't cross. But again, it's not for me to tell you. It's for nobody else to tell you but yourself. And I hate to say it, but the consequences can be pretty dire. But I'll just say this too. The same guys that are the clueless types that try to do the rule book, they're not any safer. Right now, there's a big vibe where you have to defend women that you don't even know. There's videos everywhere of guys, getting stomped by a whole bunch of hoodlums in the street, or a girl getting smacked around by like a gangster. They're like, if I was a man, I'd go and defend her. And then you see, every time guys do that, the girl ends up jumping the dude. He ends up getting killed, stabbed in the neck. The girl goes away with the psychopath anyway. So it looks like you just really have to play smart. I wish I could say there's an ideal path or a perfect place to draw. You just have to be smart about it and stop letting people manipulate you with their stupid values, because they all suck, all of them. And all you have is your best judgment. Your best judgment, and understand the things that make you a good person and the things that get you laid are not the same things. They're tangential. That means they're completely irrelevant one way or the other. But I'm a nice guy. Nobody cares. Are you sexually attractive? Yes. All right, that'll get you laid. Won't get you a relationship, but it'll get you laid. But again, what do you want? As with everything, it's all about what you want. All right. I see GV £5 1 cent super chat. If I join the Patreon today, can I still get feedback this week? Yes. The way the Patreon works is usually Wednesday. Is that today? Oh yeah, it is too. So usually Wednesday, supposedly in the morning, but I haven't done it yet, so I should probably do it now. There'll be I call it what do I call them? Hold on a second here. Look this shit up. It's the weekly post. What do I call them? Oh, I just call them Patreon Q&A. Okay. They go up. Everybody comments on their stuff from the week. And then we go through it. I provide learning materials, homework assignments, essentially, and breakdowns of your stuff and how best to. So it's not promising you guys any type of specific outcome. All I'm promising you is teaching. That's it. I will train you to be as competent in the red pill as possible. That's it. That's all I promise. But, you know, guys who use it, they come to terms, they know what they're doing, they get better. Some people find out it's not for them. So I used to actually just say, like, come on in for free. It doesn't really matter. I'm setting it up as I do it here now so I don't forget. And it was like, you know what? You'll find it. See if at the end of the month you end up liking it. If so, great. If not, no big deal. Problem is, fucking Destiny and Brittany Venti and those fucking assholes, once they and Rolo had their little beef, people started coming in and trolling it. And I take it pretty seriously. So there's no more free trials. It's you come in, you go in straight up. I still undercharge like shit for it because I really don't care about maximizing its profit anyway. For me, it's mostly a time thing. I try to keep the streams down to 2 hours or less. And if they hit over 3 hours more than like a week or two in a row, I just raise the rates so that way I can. One sec. Raise the rates just so I keep the time in there. And then change the tiers. So that's what it's there for. Anyways, it's mostly going to be for married guys, but there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you from being a single guy. Like, I can do what I do. Obviously, I knew enough about pickup that I can help you with the single guy things, but for the most part, it's going to be the same stuff. I'll say this, though. If you want to join today and get feedback, I can already tell you're not going to get as much use from it as you think. Because if you start coming in with a Batman origin story and your own little thing, you're going to get limited utility. So I would strongly suggest you just go through the sidebar like everybody else. And then at that point, if you need like guidance or additional material or specifics, then it's fine. So just hit no more Mr. Nice Guy, Robert Glover, do your breaking free exercises. There's a subreddit for that even if you want it. And the Yui McGill has been on the channel. He's good with it. There is the When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Practical Female Psychology, The First Year of Rolo, Married Man Sex Life Primer. Everything you've seen on the cyber, Book of Book. If you can get through that stuff, you'll pretty much have everything. But if you haven't gotten through any of it yet and you're coming there like a blank slate, I'm mostly just going to tell you to read this stuff from in there. So it's up to you. Anyways. Yeah, so this week's one is up. Excellent. Rose the Skunk, $10 super chat. That is 2 heartfelt cuck articles, sir. How dare you? 2 articles, please. Nice to catch you live. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. And then Fred Jacobs, $5.06. Everybody is always trying to sell you some bullshit. At least buy the bullshit that actually makes your life better for your own benefit. Yeah. I mean, I'm tooting my own horn here, and I've got motivated interest in saying that, and then join the Patreon. But it's done really good work. It really has. I've actually learned a bit from it myself. There's been a couple things which I was kind of like, we don't have enough field reports on it. So after a couple years of that, like 3 or 4 more examples, I'm like, okay, so this thing a little more confident than it would have been. So it's very good. Oh man. Okay, so I got one more for sure. And this one is such bullshit. But you'll love it. It's actually talking about dread, so I'll make it into a thing. Did I already label the episode the way I should have? 39. No, I got to do that one too. We'll do the last episode, and depending on how my voice holds up, we might do another one, but probably not. This is awesome. This field report is like a dread advertisement, and it's awesome. MidsWatch, Ryan, why are levels of dread 6 to 8 not suggested for men in stable relationships? What is he talking about? What does this even mean? You have no idea. Welcome to the heart of the red pill, man. I love this shit. So dread. There's going to be dread, the levels, and pickup, and the red pill, and the blue pill professor. You guys are going to get like a great history lesson if you're ever into that stuff. Like, subscribe, you know the deal. So this first guy, the most prolific poster within the Married Red Pill, deleted. I've been at this for a few months now with great success, but I have a clarifying question for the blue pill professor about dread levels. It seems that we are told dread levels 1 to 5 are enough for healthy relationships, but I've been bouncing through levels 6, 7, and 8 to build a healthy narcissism and tension to improve my life as a man in general. Passive dread only, but these 3 levels are helpful. What does that mean? Hold on to the end. I promise I will explain this all, and it will make perfect sense to you, and it will definitely be worth it. At levels 6 to 7, I can study the pickup stuff, game my wife, and also just be more engaging with the women I meet. Not to game them or pull numbers, but just growing in confidence, be shy, and then become reasonably impersonal. At level 8, I can be conversational and engaging, even flirty, and I do not draw my wife's jealousy, but just to learn and move from wallflower to the life of the party. Am I missing something? Is my understanding of these levels of dread is wrong? If I run them as passive, not active, why wouldn't a man want to have these 3 levels as part of their development? Okay, so you asked, what the fuck is he talking about? And here's what I'm talking about. Dread. First off, what is dread? Dread has had many definitions over the years. It is one of the core married red-pilled concepts, or red-pilled in general. I would say dread and frame are pretty much the 2 fundamental things. Now, depending on who you ask, you could say dread is a man in a relationship who's doing a branch swing, but with an olive branch. It's female strategies adopted to male sensibilities. What does that mean? Girl doesn't sleep with you, you're having a dead bedroom. Well, what do you do? Dread is the idea there. You ask some people, it's about creating anxiety in a woman so she's more likely to want to sleep with you. Also true, clunky definition. Jack actually had a good definition. Dread is the process of teaching yourself not to be taken for granted within a relationship. It's not about winning your wife back, which, now here's the problem with this. So Blue Pill Professor, he was a guy that's been around for a lot longer than me, a bit LARPy, but he had some good ideas. He's got a very good contribution. I don't mean to demean that at all, but he did a book on dread. He calls it The Blue Pill Professor's 12 Levels of Dread, scripted after an AA program. And the problem with it is it kind of sucked. It's the best of what we have, but it's not good. And a bunch of reasons. One, it's a covert contract. Once you read the first part of it, it's like good, self-help, blah, 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 maybe some acrimonious stuff. I can deal with that. Then by the end, you're like, oh my God, this is the covert contract that you're supposed to learn to get rid of right at the beginning. The problem is, well, I guess the benefit is, most people don't make it as far enough in their relationship as the final 12 step. So they never had a chance to test it. So everybody just took it in faith that, well, the first 6 are good, so why not the other 6? And no, they're not. They're not. And so when he talks about it, the first 5 steps are what he calls passive dread, or stuff that's internal and doesn't require anything, it's just self-improvement stuff. Learn to pass shit tests, have boundaries, go to the gym, have a good workout program, lose some weight, dress really well. And that's like the first 5 steps right there. And then the 6th step is learn pickup. 7th step is like use pickup on your wife. The 8th step is try to pick up other women, or something called catch and release. And then he called step 9, and this is where it kind of jumps the shark. The F me or F you phase, where you say in no ambiguous terms and negotiate desire that you will have sex with me or I will leave. And then 10 was, go cheat on her, do your thing. Then 11 is nuclear, tell her you're going to cheat on her. And then 12 was like introduce her to the woman. It was like just ridiculous. But yeah, so that was the gist of it. And this is why this guy's confused. We're still working through. This is like 8 years ago. So, we'll get there. So Jack chimes in, this is misleading because the red pill has a lot of taint left over from the primordial pickup ooze it emerged from. Pickup was mostly a way for young men to get laid by the women they saw at parties and bars. See groups of women, approach groups of women, talk, flirt, escalate, etc. We keep using terminology like game, and some of us on the married red pill are still considering it in this pickup context. They imagine some ridiculous scene going on, like going out to dinner with your wife, then aggressively flirting with the waitress, since this is something mystery and style would do in the game. But unlike those guys who did it to get their dick wet, and on more of a meta level because they were so thirsty for female validation they got addicted to it once they figured out how to regularly obtain it. So some guys in the married red pill do this with the sheer intent of somehow seducing the waitress and triggering their wife into thinking, oh my God, my husband can flirt with the waitress? I better give a blowjob with him underneath the seat. Stat. But really, I'd say we're mostly just advising guys with rich social status, attractive appearance, and general charming extroversion. Ideally, our wives are primary beneficiaries of these qualities, but Dread 6 to 8 is essentially suggesting that maybe your wife doesn't care if she is the beneficiary or benefactor, sorry. So perhaps you should start finding other people who are. Typical outcomes. Your wife didn't want to be the benefactor because she's been taking that status for granted. Seeing that it could actually be at risk, that you may have to care and share your positive social presence around others, and some of those are even attractive women who seem to enjoy it, she may start competing for your attention again, and now she realizes she actually has to put some effort into the marriage. Or 2, your wife won't care, and so find out your marriage is ending, and you'll be the socially isolated husk of a friendless, introverted man, but somehow that is well prepared to continue to transition into newer, more rewarding relationships in life. He said, I'm pretty sure I'm just ripping off Ryan. Hey, I'm ripping off Ryan's comment. He is ripping it off. So actually, Professor, make sure you give him credit when you invariably revise the dread chapters in your book due to this sparkling insight. Look at that. Did I really say that? I might have said that. That's funny. Yeah. Oh, there it was. So you want to learn the skills so you're high value, inherently and attractive. You don't want to be a try-hard, tactless idiot with an obvious facade. Side note, oh, okay. Yeah, that was me. Why a man would want to see his wife fail. One of my favorite guys, Bogey D6, he and I joined like the same week too, along with Hunter Drew, which, you know, the names don't matter, whatever. But he's like, why would they hit on the waitress at Applebee's? Why does the guy want his wife to see him fail? There's a couple things to take from this. One, guys were fundamentally misunderstanding dread at the time, but we hadn't really solidified as a topic. So in this case of hitting on the waitress, guys were actually trying that. You have to show that other women want to sleep with you. And so they're like, okay, I'll hit on the waitress respond well, wife will get jealous, bam, dread. Doesn't work that way. Hitting on the waitress is a display of lower value. It actually shows you're socially uncalibrated, you're offending your wife, and there's one of those things like, so not cheating on your wife doesn't necessarily cause damage. Not the way that people think. They'll say that, but don't worry about it. What it is lying, concerns that the other woman is taking resources. So if you start paying for a mistress and shit, that tends to piss off the wife. But most importantly, it's embarrassing her socially. So that's why my saying I always give to you guys is hitting on the waitress at Applebee's is a display of lower value, but having the waitress at Applebee's start hitting on you is a display of higher value. And that's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to be attractive, you're supposed to be extroverted, you're supposed to be socially savvy, no validation seeking, and then put yourself in co-ed environments where other women start to flirt with you, and they're usually subtle about it. You probably won't catch on, but the wife will. And then you separate which one of two situations you're in. And again, there's another thing on this. It's called the stay plan is the same as the go plan. And the idea is your wife is either does love you, but she doesn't think she has to put in any effort because she's taken you for granted. Once she realizes her throne is going to be dethroned by a younger, hotter, tighter woman who's more compliant, they tend to get what's called dread, anxiety, and desire comes at the tail end of anxiety. They start fighting for your attention. They fight for your desire. It sexually turns them on. Great examples from this. There's been a ton of situations where guys doing this exact same thing, they'd be at some kid's birthday party, and then one of the divorced moms, or sometimes the married moms, would all of a sudden start flirting with the guy and whatever, and then the guy would find out his wife would give him a blowy on the ride home from the kid's party, and he's like, and every time the guy did it, he was always like, there's like 12 examples of these over the years, and they were always like, can you believe that? I'm like, well, the first 3 times, no, but after the 7th one, I'm pretty sure we can take it as a given. But then there's always the chance that your wife just doesn't care. She doesn't love you. She's not in love with you. She's been cheating on you. She just, whatever reason, she's past menopause and she's over it. She never did. There's 100 different reasons why your wife could not love you, but is with you for the lifestyle or the comfort, or because Jesus says don't divorce your man even though you hate his guts. And what happens is when you put yourself in these situations, if your woman is absolutely unresponsive to other women trying to pick up the slack, then that kind of lets you know you're really in a dead marriage anyway. Now, for those guys who try to treat dread as a way to win your wife back, now they're at an existential crisis because, like, dude, I'm doing everything and she doesn't care. It's like, yeah, that's why it's not about her, man. It's supposed to be about you. So you realized this woman offers no value to me and she takes me for granted. I need to ditch her and grab the next one. Kind of like a couple episodes ago when I talked about the guy who was wanting to take back his filthy whore wife who left him for having the audacity of getting cancer. And it's like, yeah, the point of dread for him was to learn that he doesn't need to put up with that. He can find somebody younger and hotter and more compliant. And he had a wife with him right now that allowed him to practice these skills as like a sparring partner, but that's it. So back to the dread thing here. And this is why ultimately, and hopefully by the time you watch this, dread has come out. If not, it'll be out by the end of the year. It's probably the best collection of all the things that all these guys have learned about dread and moving from a taken for granted dead bedroom to a super sexual happy one with a wife or with somebody else. And so it's the best of what we got. It's definitely something I can't believe it's taken me 7 years to write something that's improved on it, but I guess it was just a matter of somebody making the effort. So enjoy. Fuck, I'm forgetting how relevant a lot of these things were. Let's see here. We got 37. Michael's Story. Yeah, Michael's Story. There's another classic one. Challenge the argument, not the person. Sounds like a crafty cop-out from a person who is the problem, wants to divert that way into trivial semantic or sophist debate. Oh, are you that guy that was threatening me with a lawsuit? Guys, we got Farquhar Ordisur Germanus, who's definitely not Pat Stedman. If you're the guy I remember, you're that idiot that was in chat saying that you had me on like a criminal tort. That's hilarious. All right. Here, man, I'm going to do you a favor. You don't want to be here. The cooking videos, maybe. I'll tell you right now, you guys may like the cooking videos, but nobody watched them. Nobody. So I kind of don't want to. I guess here's the question. How long have we been going on for right now? We're in an hour and 10. You know what? I might try one more. Do you guys think we got it in us for one more? What's next? Which episode did I just finish? Sophistry. It's a fucking... I'm going to use the big words. I don't know what this sophist is. I ain't one of those. Calm down before you go Rambo divorce cheat. If this is a short one, I'll do it. If not, it's it's mid. Oh, it's from Deleted. All right. So yeah, I tell you what, we're going to do it. We'll do it. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Paste as plain text. Thanks for all you do. Just keep watching the videos. Throw out super chats. We'll call it square, sir. So we'll pull this one up. And then we'll do our last episode. That's funny. Sophistry. I don't know why guys take this stuff so seriously. I really don't. I'm telling you stuff that happened and people that talked. Like, what do you want from me? Son of a bitch. He deleted both. Okay. I got one last chance of finding this guy's content. Otherwise, we're just going to have to wing it on the content. It's him saying, like, I'm ready to cheat now. Yeah, it's gone. It's been scrubbed. Screw it. We can kind of piece this together. Yeah. We want answers and prescriptions, don't we? Merc Lund. There's a name I haven't seen in a while. All right, so we're going to do one more episode. You'll love this one. Ready to cheat now. Let's see if I can make this like a clickbaity introduction, 5 seconds. Yeah. So you're ready to cheat, huh? Let me give you the authoritative red pill guide on how to cheat on your wife and get away with it. Or not. MidsWatch Ryan, welcome. I love these field reports. It's guys that are not ready to do these hardcore things, but they love talking a great game and a little bit of splash of cold water. Ryan, MidsWatch, me, talking about Jack stuff, talking about field reports 7 years ago. Here's a good one. The gist of it is, guy thinks he's ready to cheat for reasons that'll become clear soon, and then us giving him a dose of, you're not ready for that. In the upcoming Dread book, you're going to see where I talk about there are red-pilled and blue-pilled ways of cheating and the differences between them. It's a very controversial topic, but it's, real shit. We do what we do. The guy, the most prolific poster, Deleted, posts ready to cheat now. Now he's deleted everything. He's removed it from all the archives. He's gone through a lot of efforts to scrub his declaration that he wants some new strange from an anonymous account. I will let you figure out whether that means he was going to go through with it or not. Obviously not. And we got some quotes from it, so I'll go straight to the Jack side and then give you Some more like broad red pill things from me here. So Jack quotes the guy. He's like, well, this got real, but I can't just divorce. I'm sorry. I am staying for the kids. I also know that I'm going to play the ultimate CAD game and just start looking for lays while being emotionally uninvested in her. Another quote that's going to be from later on. Actually, you know what? I'll just read them as they go. So Ultimate CAD, who he's talking about here, is a guy who did just that. His wife cheated on him, lied about it. And so he just went cold. He's like, I'm not going to leave her. The kids are like a couple years from moving out of the home. So I am just going to open the relationship from my side, go do my thing. And he turned into an asshole. And for some reason, it gave the right amount of neurotic energy in their relationship. It actually made things work. It turns out some women just like to be the aggrieved housewife. So whatever. It's not the play, but it's a play. So Jack comes in and is like, dude, it makes no sense to go down this path without taking a beat and understanding your options. Talk to a divorce lawyer. Have an initial consult about the ramifications of divorce. Do you live in an at-fault state? Every state has no-fault divorce, but some states have at-fault divorce, where, for example, you don't need a trial separation period, which means your wife will have a lot less time to get her ducks in a row regarding assets and custody. Then again, some states don't have a trial separation period, but you absolutely need to understand all your potential outcomes and consequences. I'm going to go up on a limb and say you're stuck in a middling, underwhelming career that pays some of the bills but not much else, which means you won't have many assets to split, so that's another consideration. Your main drawback in divorce is less time with your kids, but there's a lot of things you can do to win primary custody. For example, try getting a lower paying job with much more flexibility. Now she's the one that has to work the overtime hours, and you're super dad zipping around town with your kids and documenting all the time you spend with them. Look, there's guys here like the Ultimate CAD and Fire Tempered, which, if you guys remember his article from Gaining Control of the Treasury, talk about their decisions to stay in a marriage and get their sexual needs met elsewhere, but I would say those decisions were made very carefully and deliberately. For example, CAD knows that any divorce means his wife would move back in with her parents, and they live 8 hours away, so even if he was primary as the custodial parent, split custody will be a huge pain in the ass. Furthermore, at least based on his field reports, that he knows, I love to read so much. By the way, they hate each other. It's absolutely hilarious watching them bicker. But anyways, I'd imagine he'd just reply any hard proof of infidelity with his wife and say just, yeah, so? And he'd be pretty sure his wife would still prefer tolerating his extramarital activities instead of getting divorced. Now, does that apply to your marriage? Because if you think your wife would stay loyal because her family is local or because there's only a few good areas for her job and she's unlikely to relocate, then you have a completely different set of calculus to consider. So back to the putting together the pieces of this thing. All the trust that had been built up with us is gone. I'm not emotional. I've been through all of that once before. I'm calculating. I'll stay for the kids, but I'm getting an office outside the home and I'm going to spend afternoons gaming and finding local MILFs down to whatever. Such is life. It's like, look, man, let me give you a final thought here. Back in my high school days, I was a stupid nice guy who whined about the friend zone. I remember feeling betrayed by that one girl, and I'm sure I went on the same rant like you did. I'd imagine a large number of guys here just read and cringed about all this because they recall doing something similar, but hopefully they're old enough that there wasn't something like Facebook to forever immortalize their fedora. My point is this: take off the fucking fedora, because somehow it's messing up your brainwaves right now. Because you're foaming at the mouth doesn't mean you're not reacting stupidly and emotional. If you weren't emotional, you'd be feeling concentrated and calm, piecing together and calculating your next steps forward to get the greatest gain for yourself. And I can tell you, this is very much not what you're doing. So like I said, take off the fedora, shave the neck beard, get your shit together, and come up with a real plan that's a little more detailed than fuck chicks and who cares. So I'd strongly recommend you reach out to some of the other guys and dump this emotional puke on them because they're actually your friends and they might listen. Anyways. So the guy rants some more Deering stuff. He deleted it, so it's gone, but he goes like, and you realize this is just a literal admission you're in your wife's frame, right? And what he means by that is he's reactive. The wife does something, and so he reacts to it emotionally. Knee-jerk reactions. If you're always doing that, if she's able to manipulate you into this behavior so easily, then yeah, you're in their frame. Go figure out a way to be stronger. In your shoes, I'd reach out to my friends, ask if they're up for a visitor, make a road trip out of it, bring a notebook, make some stops, jot some thoughts. You know, get all your old albums, live your midlife crisis stuff. Yeah, hang out with a buddy, go to a dive bar, rant about your whore of a wife, keep in touch with your kids, talk to them on the phone, let your wife know you're still alive, and that's about it. Anyways, thank them the next morning, go make yourself an omelet, get back in your car, drive home. Essentially just take like a weekend and just hide, just go walk away. It's actually in No More Mr. Nice Guy. Like, just try taking a vacation without telling anybody. Just go and do something specifically selfish for yourself. And again, the guy just continues ranting more about some. And the only part we got of it left, he's like, it's like a year ago when she totaled our car and broke all my trust. And Jack's like, hey, really, what happened this year ago, man? I guess the guy's been ranting for like 3 days on this thing. I mean, it must have been really bad. But anyways, a lot of it's just details on things that we don't really know. But here's the point. He goes, you've been sitting here ranting about all these ways you've been done wrong, but you're so vague. You're never specific about any of them. You realize you're not telling us any of this stuff, right? You're just assuming, because you're living off of emotions. You can't describe things. So anyways, and they kind of try to piece it together. She never physically cheated on him. She trashed the car. She had an emotional affair. And that's the gist of it. And it's really like, you'll be fine. But here's the problem. And here's the takeaway from you guys. This is my take on it. This is my red-pilled take. Is that most guys, when they're in a situation where they get angry, it's for 2 reasons. There is a grievance and there is a pain. Nobody gets angry by themselves. If you stub your toe, you're hurt, but you're not angry. If your wife stubs your toe, you're angry. Angry is the only social emotion that way. And so in this case, his wife made him angry and he's reacting emotionally. And then it felt very good to be, I'm the red-pilled guy. I'm going to cheat on my wife and it's going to be fucking awesome. And it's a validation seeking thing. Remember the beginning when I told you there's 2 different ways of cheating, a red pill and a blue pill? This is the difference. A blue-pilled cheating is about seeking validation. You flirt with everybody. You hit on everybody because you want somebody else to want you, to desire you. And that's the validation you're searching for. I've seen it before with friends. I've seen them ruin their marriages with sleeping with horribly ugly women because it was just the one girl that would actually touch them. And that was it. As opposed to a red pill one, which is what he's referring to here with Ultimate Cad or Fire Tempered, which is a dog is just going to be a dog. They had basically checked out of the marriage, but for like financial reasons, divorce reasons, or the kids were almost out of the house. It's like a temporary situation. Or like, you know what? I'm just going to go get my needs met and whatever happens, happens. They work on the risks. Like, this is the risk of what could happen if things all blow up in my face. If I get accused of it, just lie. And I'm not saying it's good. I don't really care if it's good. It's not my life. I'm not the one that has to live with the consequences, but they are, and they made that decision. And it's probably the best piece of advice that the Ultimate Cat ever came up with. And he goes, I am never going to put a guide on how I cheat on my wife in here, because if you need to read it, you're not ready. And it's pretty good. I would say that much. If you're at the point where you're like, I want to learn how to sleep with all these women and open up the marriage on my side and all this bravado shit, you're not ready for it and it's going to blow up in your face. And I guarantee you, you're doing it for validation. So if you make that decision to be the immoral guy, and you're more than welcome to, it's your life to do it. Do it properly. Learn the consequences. Build yourself a frame. Although I will argue that by the time you get there, most guys don't want to anymore, because they find once they get their shit together, once they get a frame, once they have healthy boundaries, once they're attractive, once they're no longer unattractive, they are surprised to find out their wife actually loves them and wants to sleep with them more. So take that lesson for what it's worth. And if you're going to rant on the internet about stuff, do pick a username that's not like attached to your Facebook. The last thing you need is to be put on blast because you wanted to vent to some anonymous strangers. It must be the lighting. Ryan's face looks as red as his shirt. Well, this shirt is actually orange, so I have a feeling it's just because of the lighting. Anyways, that's it. My voice is kind of going on me. So I think that's all I'm going to do on this. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Down to 36 episodes. So the last recordings, I'll do this in here. So, the next episode. Differences in culture, aka India is a shithole. I don't even know what that report is, but I'm going to look through that. It's going to be funny. India, frame, mindfulness, missing the point, entertainment options. So out of these 36 left, there's probably 7 that aren't really applicable to a MidsWatch. So there's going to be about 29 episodes, of which I think 3 of them are mixed into 1. So that's it. We're coming on the end stretch here. That's 6 more months of content. Then I got to come up with a new format and a new set of content. So that'll be pretty fun. Anywho, where did we leave off? How's everybody doing with their banter? Just broke up with my girl, so I'm back. Oh, Well, I guess that's good. Does that mean you're back to, you got together with that, the chick with the big guns you were talking about, that you were going to stay loyal and not fool around with her? I remember her on the stairs. I remember that one. Yeah, permission to cheat. What a concept. Dude, you joke, but a lot of guys, they do look for permission. They want their wife to give them permission to do it, or they want anonymous, like, just because you have flair on a subreddit, guys will treat that like an authority. It is amazing how easy it is. The fact that I'm running my mouth on a fucking live stream right now means you guys, well, this is the authority. He's done this 100 times. Doesn't mean shit. Does it work? That's all that matters. Yeah. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll keep this up for like the week, and then we'll take off. Do go check out Digital Rian, the gaming channel, because I'm not going to be red-pilled forever. I'm pretty much, once I finish the Dread book, once I finish the MidsWatches, I might do some more content, but like, this place really is a shithole. Tate's ruined it, Stedman's ruined it, Donovan's ruined it, the 21 convention, everybody just makes it even worse. It was already unattractive, but now it's just worse, so I'll probably switch over to doing the fucking Minecraft live streams. You know, something with a little more dignity. So the Digital Rian is the place where that stuff's going to go. I hope you enjoy it. Beyond that, any other questions? Did I miss any super chats? Or can I let you guys go have your dinner, fool around with your wives, girlfriends, all that stuff? Oh, here we go. Merc. All right, so Merc, we're going to stick around for a bit for Merc. Broke up with my girl. Comfort tests changed to fitness tests. Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it? I noticed gradual withdrawal of affection, stepped up my fitness to make myself more attractive, should have went more dread. I mean, in your situation, you weren't dating her that long. Like, ditching her is really the easiest choice. That's another thing that I might have to add a little section to her on dread. A lot of guys have 90-day girlfriends and they try to use dread, and it's like, dude, no. Like, less than a year, if you don't have kids, like, nexting is the absolute best strategy. Your girl wasn't with you for that long. And you've done the marriage thing, so you know how bad it can get. So you're like, why would you put up with that? Nope, she was a plate, graduated soul girl. I remember. Trust me, man. I know there's been like 240 of these field reports, but I still remember all the good ones. Hey, speaking of which, Ruben is back. Did you know that? Ruben. Still dating, still doing well. The divorce thing, for the most part, went over well. It was a really good thing he came there before he got that stuff sorted out, because he definitely avoided a lot of pain. A lot of pain. I think his only issue there was he was like, he wasn't used to being the CAD, and so he just kind of needs some reassurances that just to be congruent. Like, you don't want a new wife, so act like you don't want a new wife, and that's all you have to do. And if it hurts a girl's feelings, well, you didn't force her to stick around, right? But yeah, so it'll be good. Ruben's back. We got you guys here. Bach's still there doing his thing. Baccarel is actually doing pretty well too. Fitness on point, 6-pack, great time to be single. Oh yeah. There's a couple more divorced guys now, and they're crushing it pretty quickly, which is nice. A couple more married guys, a couple Catholics. There's one or two guys that you've had to give a blast of shit for LARPing a bit, but you know, we'll talk about that in shop. I don't want to talk about all the details out here. It's not too important, but yeah, so you'll like it. Anyways, bye.